Have you ever noticed something quietly unsettling about conversations? The harder you try to be interesting, the faster attention slips away. You greet someone warmly, add energy, ask thoughtful questions, and still the exchange fades within seconds. Not because you failed, not because you lacked charm, but because effort without presence feels hollow. People sense when words are being used to perform rather than to connect. Meanwhile, someone else enters the same space, speaks very little, and yet people lean in. Not because they are louder or sharper, but because their words carry weight. This isn't charisma as the world sells it. It's not confidence built on noise. It's not clever phrasing or rehearsed charm. The Stoics understood something modern culture forgot. Attraction is not created by adding more. It's created by removing what is unnecessary. When your words are fewer but grounded, they land differently. They don't chase attention, they invite it, and invitation always feels calmer than pursuit. Most people speak to fill silence. Few are comfortable enough to let silence exist, and that difference changes everything. Presence beats performance every time. When you are grounded, when you are not rushing to impress or explain yourself, people feel it before you say anything. They don't analyze it consciously, but their nervous system recognizes steadiness. Calm becomes contagious. We live in an age where everyone is talking, explaining, defending, promoting. Words are everywhere, which is exactly why most of them carry no weight. Stoic philosophy teaches restraint, not as suppression, but as discipline. The Stoics believed that every unnecessary word weakens the necessary ones. When you speak less, your words gain gravity. When you pause, your presence fills the space instead of your voice. Attraction, at its core, is not about entertainment. It's about trust. And trust is built when people feel unpressured around you. When they don't feel rushed. When they don't feel evaluated. When your energy says, "I'm here," instead of, "Look at me." This is why people remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you said. Today, we explore 6 simple expressions. Not social tricks, not manipulation, not lines to memorize. They are reflections of inner alignment, curiosity instead of ego, humility instead of performance, empathy instead of control, silence instead of noise, appreciation instead of transaction, boundaries instead of approval seeking. These expressions work because they are extensions of character, not strategies. The Stoics never chased admiration. They focused on self-command. And paradoxically, that self-command drew others toward them. When you are not seeking validation, your presence becomes stable. When you are not afraid of pauses, your words slow down. When you are not trying to be impressive, you become believable. Most conversations fail not because people say the wrong thing, but because they are internally tense. They are waiting for their turn to speak, waiting to prove something, waiting to be liked. That inner tension leaks through tone, timing, and body language. Presence dissolves that tension, and presence cannot be faked for long. As we move forward, understand this clearly. These 6 expressions are not meant to be used mechanically. If you repeat them without embodying them, they will feel empty. But when they come from genuine stillness, they shift how people experience you. Not dramatically, not instantly, but subtly, deeply, and consistently. Attraction doesn't come from adding charisma. It comes from subtracting noise, the need to impress, the fear of silence, the habit of over-explaining, the reflex to please. When those fall away, what remains is calm authority. And calm authority doesn't ask for attention. It naturally receives it. This is where everything begins. Not with words, but with restraint. Not with effort, but with awareness. And from this foundation, the first expression emerges. Not loudly, not forcefully, but with quiet curiosity that opens doors most people never notice. The first expression flows naturally from this foundation of presence. Tell me more about that. 4 simple words, yet most people never use them sincerely. Not because they are complicated, but because they require restraint. When someone shares something personal, interesting, or emotional, the instinct is to respond quickly, to relate it back to yourself, to show knowledge, to give advice, to prove you understand. But real understanding doesn't rush. When you say, "Tell me more about that," and then you stop, you send a powerful signal. You are not here to compete. You are not here to dominate the conversation. You are here to listen. Most people underestimate how rare true attention has become. In conversations, bodies may be present, but minds are usually elsewhere. Planning replies, waiting for openings, thinking about how they appear. The Stoics warned against this scattered attention. They believed that whatever you do, you should do it fully. Listening is no exception. When you invite someone to continue speaking and you don't interrupt, correct, or redirect, something subtle happens. The other person relaxes, their voice slows, their thoughts organize, they feel safe enough to go deeper. People don't open up because you are impressive. They open up because they don't feel judged, and judgment doesn't always come through criticism. It often comes through impatience, through advice given too quickly, through stories that hijack the moment. "Tell me more about that" removes all of that. It places the spotlight gently on them without pressure. It says, "Your experience matters here." Stoic philosophy places great importance on curiosity guided by discipline. Curiosity without restraint becomes nosiness. Restraint without curiosity becomes coldness. This phrase balances both. You are interested, but not intrusive. Present, but not controlling. And because you don't rush to add yourself into their story, they associate your presence with clarity instead of noise. There is another layer most people miss. When you truly listen, you also learn. Not just facts, but patterns. How people think, what they value, where their pain sits. The Stoics believed wisdom grows through observation more than speech. Every time you choose to listen instead of impress, you sharpen your understanding of human nature. And understanding is a quiet form of power. Notice how different this feels from forced charisma. There is no performance here, no technique to memorize, just patience. And patience has weight. When you allow silence after inviting someone to speak, you communicate confidence. Insecure people rush to fill space. Grounded people let space work for them. Silence after, "Tell me more about that," is not awkward. It is intentional. People often remember these moments long after the conversation ends. Tehei may not recall your exact words, but they remember how it felt to be heard without interruption. In a world where everyone is trying to be interesting, being interested is magnetic. This is why attraction grows quietly around people who listen well. They don't chase attention. Attention finds them. But this phrase only works when it is genuine. If you say it while waiting to talk, people feel the disconnect. Stoicism teaches alignment between inner state and outer action. Words without inner agreement lose force. When your mind is calm and your intention is clean, even simple phrases carry depth. This is also where ego begins to loosen its grip. When you stop redirecting conversations toward yourself, you stop needing constant validation. You become comfortable not being the center, and paradoxically, that comfort draws others closer. They sense that you are not extracting something from them. You are offering space. As you practice this, notice the internal shift. At first, you may feel the urge to interrupt, to fix, to relate. Let that urge pass. Discipline is not suppression. It is choice. Each time you choose to listen fully, you strengthen presence. And presence compounds. This expression sets the tone for everything that follows. It trains you to slow down, to observe, to value depth over speed. From here, the next expression becomes possible. Because once you stop pretending to know everything about others, you gain the courage to admit something even rarer about yourself. The next expression feels small, almost insignificant, yet it quietly separates inner strength from insecurity. I don't know. 3 words that many people avoid their entire lives. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they fear how uncertainty might make them look. From a young age, we are trained to appear certain, to have answers, to respond quickly. Silence feels like weakness. Admitting ignorance feels like exposure. But Stoic philosophy teaches the opposite. True strength is not pretending to know, but knowing where your knowledge ends. When someone asks you a question and you don't fully understand it, notice the instinctive reaction. The mind searches for something to say. anything to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty. So people guess, they speak vaguely, they wrap confusion in confidence, and while the words may sound acceptable, something underneath feels off. People sense when clarity is missing. Trust quietly drops. Respect softens. Pretending may protect the ego in the moment, but it weakens presence over time. Now imagine a different response. Someone asks, and you pause, you breathe, and you calmly say, "I don't know." No apology, no nervous laughter, no unnecessary explanation, just honesty. That pause alone changes the energy. It signals self-command. It shows you are not rushing to protect an image. You are comfortable standing where you are. The Stoics admired this kind of humility deeply. Socrates famously said that his wisdom came from knowing how little he knew. This wasn't false modesty, it was intellectual discipline. He understood that arrogance blocks learning while humility opens it. When you admit you don't know, you leave space for growth. You invite dialogue instead of performance. There is something unexpectedly attractive about this clarity. People relax around it. Hey, stop feeling pressured to perform themselves. Conversations become more real. When you don't pretend, others feel less need to pretend too. This is how honesty creates connection without effort. Most people confuse confidence with certainty. Stoicism draws a clear line between the two. Certainty is rigid. Confidence is calm. You can be confident without having all the answers. In fact, real confidence often shows itself through restraint, through the ability to say less, not more, through the willingness to pause instead of rushing to fill space. Saying, "I don't know," also protects you from overcommitment. When you pretend to understand something you don't, you often agree to expectations you can't fulfill. Later, stress appears, confusion grows, boundaries weaken. A simple, honest admission early prevents complex problems later. The Stoics valued foresight, not reaction. This phrase embodies that wisdom. Notice how this expression reshapes your internal state as well. When you allow yourself not to know, mental tension decreases. You stop carrying the burden of image management. You no longer feel the need to impress. Instead, curiosity replaces anxiety. And curiosity keeps the mind flexible. There is also quiet authority and clarity. When you say, "I don't know," without shame, people listen more closely to what you do say. Your words gain credibility because they are no longer mixed with exaggeration. In a world full of noise, precision stands out. This expression teaches another Stoic lesson. Control what is within your power. Your honesty is within your control. Other people's opinions are not. When you choose honesty over approval, you reclaim inner freedom. You stop being reactive. You stop tailoring yourself to expectations you didn't choose. Over time, this practice rewires how people experience you. They begin to trust your yes because they have seen your no. They trust your knowledge because they have seen your limits. This balance creates stability, and stability is attractive in ways excitement never sustains. As this becomes natural, conversations shift. You stop rushing, you stop guessing, you stop inflating. And in that space, something unexpected happens. People begin to ask you more thoughtful questions. Not because you know everything, but because you are grounded enough to explore honestly. This prepares the ground for the next expression. Because once you are no longer pretending to have all the answers, you become capable of something deeper than advice. You become capable of understanding pain without trying to fix it, and that is where most people fail. The next expression is where most people lose control, not because it is difficult to understand, but because it challenges a deep internal habit. That sounds hard. Simple words, yet rarely spoken with full presence. When someone shares stress, disappointment, failure, or emotional weight, the instinct is almost automatic. Fix it. Solve it. Reframe it. Say something helpful. Say something smart. Say something that ends the discomfort. But Stoic wisdom teaches that not every moment asks for action. Some moments ask for understanding. When pain is shared, advice too quickly given often feels like dismissal. Even when intentions are good, solutions can sound like judgment. as if the experience should have been handled better, as if the emotion is inconvenient. That sounds hard, does something different. It does not rush, it does not minimize, it does not compare, it acknowledges reality as it is. Most people underestimate how powerful acknowledgement is. To be seen without correction, to be heard without interruption, to be met without pressure. When you validate someone's experience, you remove their need to defend it. Their nervous system softens, their breathing slows, they feel less alone. This is not weakness, this is emotional intelligence. Stoicism is often misunderstood as emotional coldness, but that misunderstanding comes from confusing control with suppression. The Stoics did not deny emotion. They trained themselves not to be ruled by it. There is a difference. Saying that sounds hard is not being swept into someone else's emotion. It is standing steady while recognizing it. Strength does not require detachment from humanity. In modern conversations, empathy is often rushed or performative. People nod, but their minds are already forming responses. They say, "I get it," but quickly redirect to themselves. True empathy has patience. It allows space. It listens without agenda. When you use this phrase sincerely, you are not trying to feel what they feel. You are simply allowing them to feel what they feel without resistance. There is also discipline in this restraint. The discipline to not fix. The discipline to not advise prematurely. The discipline to tolerate silence that may follow. Many people struggle here because silence after vulnerability feels uncomfortable. But that discomfort is not a problem. It is a signal that something real is present, and real moments deserve space. This expression also reveals maturity. It shows that you understand the limits of control. You recognize that not every struggle can be solved in conversation. Some experiences need to be processed, not corrected. The Stoics believe that wisdom includes knowing when action is appropriate and when acceptance is wiser. That sounds hard, belongs to acceptance. Notice how this changes how people experience you. They don't feel rushed to move on. They don't feel pressured to be positive. They don't feel like a burden. Over time, they associate your presence with emotional safety. And emotional safety creates deep trust. This phrase also protects you from emotional exhaustion. When you rush to fix everyone's problems, you carry responsibility that was never yours. You absorb stress that does not belong to you. Acknowledgement without ownership keeps boundaries intact. You remain supportive without becoming entangled. Stoicism values compassion guided by reason. This is compassion without chaos. You are present but grounded, caring but not overwhelmed. And that balance is rare. People sense it immediately. As you practice this, pay attention to your internal reactions. Notice the urge to add more words, to soften the moment with humor, to escape discomfort. Let that urge pass. Stillness here is strength. Silence here is respect. Over time, you will notice something subtle. People begin to share more honestly. Not because you ask better questions, but because they feel less judged. They feel less managed. They feel allowed to be imperfect. And imperfection is where real connection lives. This expression prepares you for the most misunderstood element of all. Because once you stop fixing, once you stop rushing, once you stop fearing discomfort, you become capable of something that terrifies most people. You become comfortable with silence itself. And silence, when mastered, carries more authority than words ever could. The next expression sounds warm, but its power lies in how rarely it is used with intention. I appreciate you. 3 words that go deeper than politeness. Most people say thank you without thinking. Thank you often acknowledges an action. You did something. You completed a task. You helped. Appreciation is different. It recognizes the person behind the action. It says, I see your effort, your consistency, your character. In everyday interactions, people feel invisible more often than they admit. They show up, they try, they contribute, and yet their presence goes unnoticed unless they fail. Stoic philosophy reminds us that human beings are not tools for outcomes. They are individuals shaped by effort, discipline, and intention. When you say, I appreciate you, sincerely, you cut through routine and touch something personal. This phrase works because it is not transactional. It doesn't demand anything in return. It doesn't create obligation. It simply acknowledges value, and acknowledgement, when rare, carries weight. In a culture that measures worth through productivity, recognizing someone's character feels grounding. It restores dignity. But restraint matters here. Appreciation loses meaning when overused. Stoic discipline teaches moderation. Say it when it's true. Say it when it matters. Say it when it reflects something real. Empty praise feels hollow. Measured appreciation feels solid. Notice how this expression changes energy. When someone hears, "I appreciate you," their posture shifts slightly. Their guard lowers. They feel seen, not evaluated. This is not flattery. Flattery exaggerates. Appreciation observes. One inflates the ego. The other strengthens connection. This phrase also requires awareness. You must be present enough to notice effort, consistency, integrity, quiet reliability. The Stoics valued what endured, not what impressed. When you appreciate someone for showing up repeatedly, for remaining steady, for acting with principle, you reinforce what matters. There is also humility in appreciation. When you acknowledge others, you step out of self-focus. You recognize that your experience is shaped by people around you. This softens entitlement. It builds respect without hierarchy. And respect grounded in humility lasts longer than admiration built on dominance. Appreciation also has a stabilizing effect on relationships. People don't feel used. They don't feel taken for granted. They feel recognized. Over time, this creates loyalty, not because it is demanded, but because it is earned. Stoicism never taught control through force. It taught influence through character. Internally, this practice changes you as well. When you look for reasons to appreciate others, your perception sharpens. You notice effort instead of flaws. You notice intention instead of outcome. This doesn't make you naive. It makes you balanced. The Stoics believed perception shapes experience. What you focus on grows. Another subtle power of this phrase is timing. Appreciation given when no one expects it lands deeper. Not after a success, but during consistency. Not publicly for applause, but privately with sincerity. This is how words become anchors rather than noise. Many people confuse appreciation with weakness. They believe acknowledging others reduces their own authority. Stoicism rejects this. Strength is not diminished by recognition. It is refined by it. Leaders who appreciate are respected. Individuals who appreciate are trusted. Because appreciation signals security, not dependence. Be mindful not to attach appreciation to outcomes alone. When praise becomes conditional, it turns into pressure. True appreciation stands independent of reward. It recognizes being, not just doing. And being recognized without pressure feels rare and grounding. As you integrate this expression, notice how people respond over time. Not dramatically, not instantly, but subtly. Conversations soften. Cooperation increases. Tension decreases. You become someone associated with respect rather than extraction. This prepares the ground for the final expression. Because once you can recognize others without clinging, once you can appreciate without seeking approval, you become capable of the hardest boundary of all. A boundary that defines self-respect. A boundary most people avoid because they fear loss. And that boundary is expressed in one simple word. The final expression is the simplest to say and the hardest to embody. No. One word that exposes how comfortable you are with yourself. Most people don't struggle with saying no because they are unkind. They struggle because they fear consequences. Fear of disappointing. Fear of conflict. Fear of being misunderstood. So they say yes when they mean no. And over time, their energy leaks away quietly. Stoic philosophy places enormous importance on boundaries, not as walls, but as lines of clarity. A boundary is not an act of aggression. It is an act of self-respect. When you say no calmly, without explanation or apology, you are not rejecting a person. You are protecting alignment, and alignment is the foundation of inner stability. Notice how people usually say no. They over-explain, they soften, they justify, they stack excuses to make the refusal more acceptable. but every added word weakens the message. It signals uncertainty. A grounded no is brief, considered, still. It does not need defense. The Stoics believed that what is right does not require noise. When you observe someone who has learned to say no well, you notice something immediately. They pause before answering. They don't react. They choose. That pause is power. It shows they are not controlled by urgency or guilt. They are responding from principle, not pressure. Every unnecessary yes is a quiet no to something else. Your focus, your peace, your growth. Over time, too many misplaced yeses create resentment. And resentment always leaks into tone, posture, and energy. People feel it even when you hide it. Saying no early prevents bitterness later. This is not selfishness. It is foresight. Stoicism teaches that you are responsible for what is within your control. Your time is within your control. Your energy is within your control. Your values are within your control. Other people's expectations are not. When you say no to what conflicts with your values, you reclaim inner freedom. You stop negotiating your peace. This word also reshapes how people perceive you. At first, some may resist. Those who benefited from your lack of boundaries may feel discomfort. That is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of change. Boundaries do not push the right people away. They filter. Those who respect you remain. Those who relied on access without respect fall away. There is quiet confidence in a clean no. No anger, no explanation, no story, just clarity. And clarity builds trust. People learn that when you say yes, you mean it. Your commitments carry weight because they are not given carelessly. Internally, this practice strengthens discipline. Each time you say no with calm, you reinforce self-command. You prove to yourself that discomfort will not break you, that approval is not required for worth. The Stoics trained themselves to withstand momentary discomfort in exchange for long-term stability. Saying no is one of the clearest expressions of that training. This final expression completes the circle. Curiosity taught you to listen. Humility taught you to admit limits. Empathy taught you to acknowledge pain. Silence taught you restraint. Appreciation taught you recognition. And no teaches you self-respect. Together, they form presence, not performance, not manipulation. Presence. These 6 expressions work because they are not techniques. They are reflections of an inner state. When you embody them, conversations slow down. Tension dissolves. People feel less managed and more understood. You stop chasing connection and begin allowing it. Attraction is not about adding more personality. It is about subtracting the unnecessary, the noise, the urgency, the need to impress, the fear of silence. When those fall away, what remains is calm authority. And calm authority doesn't announce itself. It is felt. Practice one of these expressions in the next 24 hours. Not mechanically, intentionally. Choose curiosity instead of interruption. Honesty instead of pretense. Acknowledgement instead of fixing. Silence instead of noise. Appreciation instead of transaction. Or clarity instead of guilt. Watch closely how people respond. Not dramatically, not instantly, but subtly. Their posture, their tone, their openness. You will notice a shift. Because when your words finally carry weight, people don't just hear you, they feel you. And that is the Stoic secret. Presence always outlasts performance.